You can hear the Yankee manager coming up at 5 this afternoon. You'll hear Eddie on the Mets and their issues coming up before that around 4:40. Brad and Belmore, what's up, Brad?
Welcome back, Mike. Good
Thank you, Brad. What's happening?
Good spot there with Ira. Always enjoy that spot.
Yeah, Ira does a good job.
Always does a good job. Great NBA playoffs so far, and as a Knicks fan, you have to be a bit worried looking at this Boston team playing so well without really their two All-Stars right now.
This is very well coached, exceedingly well coached team, and yes, it's going to be a very, very formidable team in the next couple of years.
Yeah, not just well coached. Danny Ainge has done a phenomenal job with that team, and this is an important offseason, not just the coaching job, and I do hope it goes to someone like Fizdale, who can develop young players. But the Knicks have to, really be thinking now what the future is with Porzingis, because, it wasn't entirely surprising that he suffered an injury like this. He plays the game with that body a very different way, and I guess the thing they have to figure out is whether or not he really is the superstar that many of us thought he's going to be.
Listen, I think he has the ability to be that. The one thing you do worry about is whether or not he can play that way with that body, because he does have actions that belie being that tall. I mean, he actually does play the game like a smaller man, and that can be tough on that body. There's no question. So you do worry about such things. I think you have to go forward with the idea that he can play. I don't think there's any question that I will be, and I have no inside information about what the Knicks are doing, but I think knowing something about the guys, and I do know all the guys who are involved in making the decision, I think they want someone younger. I think they want someone they feel is versed in what they feel are the new analytics of the sport. And I think that they want someone that they feel very comfortable with in terms of that they all are on the same page. So I think it will be a younger rather than older guy. I don't think it will be it will not be a Van Gundy. I think everyone knows that. It will. I will be. I do not think it'll be Mark Jackson.
Yeah, me neither.
I think it will be a Fizdale. I think it'll be if you wanted a guy like, now I don't know what
Clifford.
I haven't heard his name as much. Ira mentioned it. I haven't heard his name as much.
Why not? I thought he did a pretty good job in Charlotte.
I heard
actually they let him go.
I don't know I don't know what the Atlanta coach is thinking about what he wants to do. So I think you should watch the Spurs assistant. Okay,
right.
Borrego, he's 41 years old. He obviously has worked with San Antonio. Do not be surprised if he emerges as a serious candidate.
And what do you think of the rookie this year, the French kid? A little concerned, or is he just too young to really evaluate him right now?
I thought he was disappointing.
Yeah,
I thought his game was disappointing. I'm sorry, I thought he was. Nathan in Brooklyn, what's up, Nathan?
Hey, Mike, how are you? Welcome back.
Thank you. What's happening?
Before I make my Met point, can I just ask you one question?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I think the audience is curious as to what was the decision to come back and what went into the decision to come back. Like, when I first read the article online, come back, I was like, that's so Francesa. I didn't even think Francesa would do that, to come back to the fan, because from what it sounded like in the show, it sounded like you had a whole bunch of things lined up, and I guess the audience, I think, is curious to know exactly what went on.
The easiest way to tell you is that, and a lot of stuff written has been completely fictitious or erroneous or whatever you want to say. They had no idea what they were talking about. What really happened was this was driven completely by the app that we have been working on for months. After that, we decided that we would add a broadcast. We came into a partnership with the CA people and myself on building this app. We decided we would entertain a broadcast partner. We had a lot of different ones, and then Entercom entered the picture. They had never been out of the picture as far as David Field, who runs the company and owns the fan, and I had talked a lot about a lot of things throughout the entire winter. And then came the idea of he being involved in the whole project, and that including me coming back and doing a daily show to drive, to complement the app, work with the app, and also do a daily show. We started working on that premise in March, not knowing whether it would work or not, and then it led to this, and that's exactly what happened. And there was a time, I can tell you, where we were very close to making deals with a third entity that would have taken us in a very different direction. I mean, we came within, I'd say, a day of making a deal in February that would have been completely different with a different kind of broadcast partner, a very big broadcast partner, but it would have meant a different way of doing this. This is the way we decided to do it. I thought this made the most sense. And then we started to talk about the possibility of FAN. Early on, when we first heard it, I thought, probably not going to work out. And then little by little, it started to come into discussions. We really thought about it over a period of time. I mean, we discussed this most of March, and then it got serious, and that was it. And that's really what happened. So, I mean, it could have easily gone in a lot of different directions, and you'll see the app is a very big part of this. It's not operational yet, but it's going to be a very big part of this. It's something that we're working a lot on. We're spending a lot of time on, and I think folks will enjoy it, and you can start to find out about it. Right now, you can just sign up for it at Mike's on either Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those different ways to enter it. And as we go forward, you'll start to see some of the stuff we're going to do, and I think you'll find it very interesting. But go ahead.
Just my question: when do you think Matt Harvey is going to finally grow up? Because he could be out of a job soon.
Hey, I'm not sure Matt will ever grow up. I think this is I think Matt has had trouble adjusting to the realities of his career, and I understand that, because here was a guy who touched stardom. This is a guy I remember who started the All-Star game. This is a guy who people just to talk about when he got the big money, not if he got the big money. So he was going to be the big guy. He was going to be the star. And remember, a big part of this was he had two very serious operations. The second one that very few players come back from. That is a big part of this. But also his immaturity and his attitude and maybe some other things that we don't know about. I don't know what Matt Harvey does with his time, and it's not my business, and I don't really care. Unless it affects his performance. Then you care. That's his business. He's a grown man. What he's doing, though, I don't know. But right now, I think he's probably lost. And having a hard time adjusting, because I think in Matt Harvey's mind, he was never, ever supposed to be somebody who mopped up games. Dan in Garwood, what's up, Dan?
Mike, how you doing, brother?
What's happening?
Good to have you back. All these conspiracies and stuff. Mike, listen, I don't care if aliens told you to come back. I'm just glad you're back. It hasn't been the same without you, Mike, and now that you're back,
Pretty good.
we're going to talk Yankee baseball.
Go ahead.
Obviously, the Yankees have been back on a hot streak. If you came back sooner, I'd have been miserable, but they've been getting good again. But one thing that concerns me, Mike, and it's not listen, Sonny Gray, I kind of had enough of. But that's a whole other thing. Even though he was good the other day, even when he's going to be good with his personal catcher stuff, you hurt the team because now you got to take Sanchez out of the lineup. It doesn't work, and I'll tell you something. He's got to get past it because it doesn't work. There's a couple of things the Yankees have to come to grips with. A is the utilization of Stanton. Are they going to weaken their defense and play him, or are they going to put him at the DH spot? Number two, they have got to break Gray of how to use Sanchez, because Sanchez is too big an offensive player to be used that way. You can't use him that way. And Mike, they say, you got to sit him out so many games anyway.
Doesn't matter, but you can't. You have to pick your spots. But you have to pick your spots.
Running hot?
Right.
What if he's running hot? Exactly.
He's also an integral part of the offense. This is not most catches are not integral parts of the offense. He is.
Yeah, the other thing, Mike, I think the team is pretty solid. I'm not too worried. There's a couple little things.
They need a pitcher. They need a pitcher.
What?
They need a starting pitcher.
Well, maybe Sheffield comes up this year.
No, they need a proven starting pitcher.
Agreed. Well, one thing that does worry me, though, Mike, is the fundamental stuff, the errors and the base running bloopers, and that's one thing that has concerned me since going back to last season. And it looks like it's actually getting worse this year.
It is, because they've weakened their defense this year by certain things they've done. They've also put kids in spots, and certain guys haven't come up and done really well. Like, I would have thought Walker would have done better. He's not been good. I mean, he has not looked good at all. So, as an example, Gaudy's had a tough time. They have not played good situational baseball. They have made a lot of errors. Their defense last year, and especially in the outfield, was terrific because you were playing guys who were all guys capable of playing center field. You had a whole bunch of them in the outfield. You weaken your defense a little bit this year, but you knew that Stanton was going to weaken your defense. And it's not just him. The infield defense has been weakened too this year. But you've moved people around. You've had people injured. You've had to move people around. You're playing kids. That's going to happen. John in Manhattan. What's up, John?
Hey, Mike. What's happening?
What's going on?
Listen, I'm a LeBron fan, and this performance we're getting out of him is pretty special to me. And do you remember seeing anything similar out of like a Michael Jordan?
Yes.
Something like that?
Listen, Michael Jordan had a better cast, and he was in the same situation all the time. He had Scottie Pippen with him all those years. LeBron has never had a sidekick like Scottie Pippen, who not only was with him all the time, but also took a secondary role in every way and filled in the spaces where Michael needed the spaces filled in. Scottie be the ball handler. Scottie was the ball handler. Scottie be the primary defender. Be the primary defender. Scottie go do this. Scottie go do that. That's what he did. He did the things, and Michael scored. Scottie's weakest part was he was not a primetime scorer. He was a scorer, but he was not a primetime scorer. He was a scorer in the flow. He was a scorer when he got hot. He was not a guy who was a last shot scorer. That's not what he was. He was an all-time great defender, and he was an incredibly versatile talent. But he fit perfectly together. He was the perfect, Robin to Batman. He wasn't trying to be Batman. LeBron has not had a guy who played that role as flawlessly and seamlessly as Pippen did. Then you sprinkle in whether it was Grant, whether it was Rodman. He had consistency, and he also had the same coaching. LeBron's had a mishmash. By his own doing, a lot of it too, but he's had a mishmash. LeBron is the single. I'm not going to tell you that LeBron is a more effective basketball player than Michael, because that's not fair. What I'm going to tell you is LeBron is the most complete soup to nuts basketball player who has ever lived. Was Michael a better shooter? Absolutely. Was he a better last-second shooter? Absolutely. But LeBron is better than him in so many other areas that LeBron, the only guy that you could say could do everything LeBron could do the same way he could do is Oscar Robertson. And he never had the talent around him that the other great teams had, the other great players had. But he was the most complete player other than LeBron. LeBron is that complete. And his career has been amazing. Now, has he won as many championships as Michael? No, he hasn't. And he won't. But Michael didn't win as many as Bill Russell, if that's the case. Ralph in Belleville, what's up, Ralph?
Hey, Mike, I'm really happy you're back.
Thank you, Ralph. What's going on?
Your app this morning. I'm looking forward to the Sunday show. You know I love that.
Yep.
And before I get to the draft, Mike, you must know how Donald Trump feels with the media. Fake news, fake news, fake news.
I gotta admit, there's a lot of stuff that was inaccurate this time around.
The media is ridiculous. I can't stand it. I didn't want to get into it.
I mean, it's amazing. Mike, go ahead.
Two questions. One, I know the Colts finally got it right, because you've been yelling for years, telling me how come Colts don't draft offensive linemen.
Build the line, please. I mean, and they just got a guy who's only going to, you know what he's only going to do, Ralph? He's only going to be kind of a 10-year Pro Bowl player. That's all he's going to be.
Yeah, well, it's about time. And secondly, Mike, is there any way to know? Now, I know Drew Brees had the same operation and came back, and he was still Drew Brees. Is there any way to know from you, is Luck, Andrew Luck going to be Andrew Luck?
I don't know. I don't think anybody knows.
Does anybody know?
I don't think anybody knows. I'm not even sure Andrew knows it.
Well, that's scary.
I think, Ralph, we're so far down the line now that until we see him do it, I already saw something the other day, And it was scary because it came out of the Colts, who said, well, we don't expect him to stay in the pocket and try to keep plays we don't expect him to extend plays the way he did in the past. Why not? He did it better than anybody. Why wouldn't you expect that?
It's got to be Andrew Luck. Well, then why didn't they draft a quarterback, Mike?
Well, I think they've moved their chips, Ralph, to the middle of the table, and they're going with him. But I think what they're saying is we want him to protect himself more than rather stand in there and wait every second to wait for the play to break and then take the terrible hit as he tries to wait for the play to break downfield. You know, he threw the ball deeper. He tried to make bigger plays than anybody in that pocket and took a beating for it. And that beating has almost cost him his career. I hope he comes back. You know why? Because the league needs stars, and he's a star. Back after this.